Hello viewer, Lorenzo here. This is Eeloo Tylo, episode 34. We rejoin with Adam today. Adam is the name of this space vessel, and last time we checked it was facing away from the sun with its solar panels. Fortunately, its trajectory has brought it round and it is being juiced up now. I've taken the liberty to prepare a maneuver node that will put us in a close encounter with Eve. And if we look at our space calendar, we have pretty much free reign to play with Adam in a totally non-inappropriate way. That is an appropriate way. We may have to do a final correction move on the Tiny Ike as well, which may muddle things up, and then the next thing after that is nuclear propulsion. This is going to be a biggie. Another thing we want to do, I'm not sure if that's going to be this episode, depends a bit on how things go here, is a simulation of a Tylo lander, so stay tuned for that. But first things first is we're going to do this maneuver node. We're going to time warp to it, and we're going to keep paying close attention to the orientation of these solar panels, because of course we don't want another blackout. Let's see, a day remaining on the time warp. This maneuver node here says 84 days. We're gonna remove that because, well, we're here now. And I'm gonna hazard a guess and say that this 38-minute overshoot isn't really gonna matter. Just to be sure, we're gonna be watching the map view at the end of this burn to fine-tune our approach. We carry a big heat shield. We are going to be doing aero braking at Eve. If we pull up the contracts here, what we want to do is the same as we want to do around Duna, which is orbit, transmit data, land, and transmit data again. We should be able to do this. And I think if we slam in for a aero braking session, that will count as orbiting. But if we have to rocket fuel, we will establish a proper orbit first and also try and pinpoint a nice accurate landing spot. 12 science here from around the sun. This is changed in some version of the game. We can now take barometric readings from vacuum. That's a few extra science points. Same here as space temperature around the sun. Wonderful. It's not the largest payoff, but it is a payoff. Right on, then let's get to the burning. Here we go. Burning initiated. Isn't that wonderful? It sure is. Fun fact about this mission, this heat shield here will account for pretty much most of the weight of this ship. The wing and the instruments are really small, and there's barely any propellant on board, just the RCS fuel there. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I didn't pay attention to the trajectory. Our Eve periapsis is a little bit high, but with our trusty RCS system we can fine-tune that. Let's make it low then. I am burning lots of RCS. Hopefully I won't actually be needing it. This is monumentally low. Really good. Nice approach there. Did we waste all our RCS fuel? No, just about a third. Should be good, but we might want to keep an eye on that. Alright then, when will this happen? This will happen in 114 days. That's actually confirmed to be after the correction for Tiny Ike. Now then, we want to point our solar panels so that they will be receiving sunlight upon getting to Eve. And if we point them like straight at the sun now, we want to be pointing them more than through the sun, because once we get around there, we want them to be catching sunlight. So we're going to be grabbing the RCS system again. We first will point our axis straight through the sun. That's like so. This will of course screw with our periapsis around Eve, I think. Has it? Yeah, a bit. It's still good though. Let's see, if we put our ship like so, the orientation like so, a little bit more, I think we will be getting some rays once we turn around the system. This is a really bad design because there is a protrusion here and of course the heat shield, meaning that these things are quite often shaded. Not great. We will be doing all the time warping of these 86 days here to see how the solar panel situation evolves, because it would be a darn shame if we lose Adam due to this. Let's see, we are turning around the sun, 50 more days to go. Look, we're catching optimal rays now. 30 more days to go, no shadows on the panels yet. 15 days to go, 10 days, let's reduce warp just a bit. Look, see, we're noticeably closer to the sun now, by the way. Alright, 2 more days until we have to pay attention to Tiny Ike, of course, the Ike lander. And where are we? We are fast approaching Eve. Our orientation will not change a lot with regard to the sun. So if we just point at our target, which is of course Eve, we should be good on the solar front. And of course we'll do the Ike landing and then come back here so we can chaperone Adam all the way. Let's switch to the Ike lander. I hadn't counted on that. I thought the Eve thing would be a little bit faster. Well, not faster, but be a little bit earlier. Let's see, here we are on the Tiny Ike. With a course correction, this hasn't been filled in yet. We're gonna have to make that. Add maneuver. No, this is on the wrong trajectory. We want a maneuver on the blue trajectory. Here we go. Now we want to focus on Ike and actually make that thing intercepted. That would be nice. Alright. Let's see what we can do with that. Ooh! Did we have an encounter there already? Yeah, an Ike encounter. Oh. Well, that's pretty great, actually. Look at that. We get an Ike periapsis of 300 kilometers. We'll have a lot of braking to do once we get there, because, well, our speed will be pretty large. I think it would even be more delta V efficient to go past Duna, but it's just not my style at the moment. Yeah, let's do this. This will have to be done in 2 hours. This is only 36 meters per second. We'll fast forward to those. Oh, wait, let's see. We have a whole bunch of mystery goo units here. Space high over the sun has been done. This thing has goo for all occasions. Right on. Let's keep doing it one thing at a time. Where we will. I didn't do a reminder for the Adam mission. Oh god, I'm gonna have to remember now how long that was gonna take. Was it 10 more days? I think it was 10 more days. And then we're gonna have to look how long this is gonna take, because of course we're not here immediately yet either. Alright. The downside of this craft is that we didn't bring RCS, so I have to burn the rocket to turn it, which of course will muddle up any maneuver node I have cared to set. Fortunately, it's only a few meters per second. We'll further muddle that up by doing a full thrust burn and now just evaluating what happened. Oh look, we're gonna pass on the other side, but otherwise we're fine. 800 kilometers, great for a start. This will happen in 47 days. That gives us some wiggle room. Let's add a sphere of influence change marker. That will be the Duna sphere of influence, I'd say. It can't really get there. It cannot get to Ike by not going through Duna sphere of influence, so that would have to be that. Add the alarm there, and that makes us ready to return to Adam. Let me find that again. Back to our space center, which is now relatively flush with money. We have a million credits and we are researching nuclear tech. These are good things, and the Eve and Ike missions will pay out accordingly as well. And I think if all goes well there, we can actually purchase the science building unlock. So we have 44 days until that, and this is only 29 days. So we can just feel free to fast forward to the Eve encounter, and all the while I'm gonna watch the solar panels It is. Oh, it is being a bitch about the tiny Ike thing. I'm gonna delete that and delete this and redo it. There we go. And watching the solar panels. Watching the solar panels. Oh, they're getting shaded. Only a bit though. Our warp is decreasing. We still have power. We are right at the edge of this sphere of influence change. And now, of course, because we are solar powered, it is of paramount importance that we actually enter Eve on the daylit side. We have a periapsis now of 400 kilometers. Let's actually focus Eve and get a maneuver node going. I think I passed it. By the way, you can switch targets, switch foci here by pressing the tab key. Actually, this curve doesn't seem to be too horrible. Yeah, this is 500 meters per second. That's decent. Our rocket will have that easily, even 1,000. This is a nice, a little bit closer orbit. This has two benefits. This will ease our aero braking pass, and even though we have a big heat shield, it's always good to ease those passes, and it will allow us to be somewhat choosy in where to actually land. Alright, 2 days. I think the solar panels will last 2 days even without any special rays falling on them. Yeah, simulation body unlocked. Eve, we shall probably not do much here, but it's always nice to play around, I know, with special purpose thermal ramjet airplanes. Note, I have no intention of doing anything with that. Alright, there it comes, the big purple mother planet. Our periapsis is now 400 or so kilometers, so we're not quite the closest approach yet. Oh darn, I have to do the science, of course. I hope this still counts as high. Yes, transmit. And transmit. Now that will put a dent into our science payload, but not a fatal dent, I hope. Yes. Nice, that will earn us a check mark. 14 more minutes. We have an electric attitude motor, by the way, so that will also eat into our electricity bill. And we also have electric rover wheels, and I will soon disable those because, well, otherwise they're going to be eating electricity. They are for the stage 3 of this mission, very much optional. Disable motor and lock steering. These wheels are in case we land super successfully. And if everything survives, then we will be able to drive around a little bit. Projections are that the wheels will break upon landing impact, but hey, we've never been on Eve before, they may actually survive. And if so, we can have a little drive, that would be fun, wouldn't it? Cool. A few more minutes until the burn. Well, the burn itself will take a while, 1.5 kilometers per second, so I'm gonna start doing so now. Ooh, we're halfway through our monopropellant, and that's the sole source of propulsion for this glider. So I'm gonna stop using that here in orbit. Cool, the rocket engine has lit, all of that is successful. 500 kilometers, we're gonna have to pay attention to when we are in fact slowly over, low over Eve, because that will yield a new set of sciences. And I would really rather land on land than on water, or whatever it is the oceans here are made up of, because our contract stipulates science return from the surface of Eve, and I think the water surface will count as well, but I have no idea if my lander will survive a water landing. And of course, if the lander doesn't survive, there's no science return from the surface. I will enter in a somewhat almost polar orbit of Eve, which will allow me to be very picky about where I'm gonna land, so that's a good thing. Right on, this rocket stage has almost been exhausted. Where will that be ditched? That will be ditched in Eve orbit, because we have been captured. That would yield us another check mark on the contract. Yes, we have. Now we just have a landing and a data recovery objective. Let's see whether we are already considered to be in low Eve orbit for science purposes? No, that we are not. Our orbit is steadily shrinking. That's good. We have 15 days until we have to pay attention to the Ike lander again. So if all goes well, we'll have 2 landings on this one. Although the Eve landing probably will take some time because they'll be flying around and stuff. And the Ike landing may be its own separate episode. By the way, I invite you hereby to leave your preferences in the comments. Do you prefer longer episodes or shorter episodes? Shorter ones would be less than 25 minutes, longer ones would be longer than 45 minutes. So the gray area in between, I'm leaving myself as a wiggle room. 170 meters per second until our target orbit. As you can see, our rocket fuel isn't nearly exhausted yet. We have plenty of delta V for this mission. So I'm going to just keep pushing the orbit down to, let's say, about 150 kilometers to give myself maximum flexibility in selecting a landing site. Let's see, our periapsis is now at 280 kilometers, 60 when I finished speaking. Eve is rather large. It's slightly larger than Kerbin even, and has correspondingly larger gravity. Also, it has a thicker atmosphere, so ascending from Eve is actually really difficult. Landing on it, on the other hand, as long as you pack enough heat shielding, is relatively easy. 130 kilometers, let's leave it at that. I think that will also count as being low over Eve. We'll get there in 12 minutes. That won't be enough to drain the batteries, I think, so we can just wait to get there and then start doing science. I hope that's not inside the atmosphere yet. That would be a little bit embarrassing. Cool, let's see. We can do science. 42 points and 28 from the temperature. Through this mission is already successful. Let's see, here's a big stretch of ocean, but also a big stretch of land. Past the ocean, there is lots of land again. So we can attempt to land here somewhere. I think that would be feasible. A little bit of a turn, which is of course delta V intensive, but then an entry after that. That would be another 1100 meters per second. That's not needed. What we can also do is ascend to apoapsis again, and then just drop our periapsis here to like 48. There's lots of land here. And I think the planet will rotate a bit in between. We'll just observe that if the planet will rotate. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with this maneuver node and do the landing then and there. Yeah, this will give us ample opportunity to steer for a solid surface. Yes, and it's only 65 meters per second. That will give us at least the option of retaining the rocket, because the rocket is also behind the heat shield and will give us quite a bit of delta V, so we can maybe even do some steering in atmosphere. This was never tested, but we're gonna attempt. I mean, we can always ditch it if we want to. If it's unbalancing the craft or something like that, we'll just ditch it. And our periapsis now is 49 kilometers, which I think is a pretty good number to do aero braking at Eve with. So let's charge our batteries by turning towards the sun. I'll take a quick toilet break and then we'll do the landing. See you in a bit. And we're on our way, time warping forwards to that periapsis point, which we will reach in 12 minutes already. So that's not too long. Let's see. Yeah, there we are, the atmosphere here. Oh, it's a little bit green even. Wonderful. Oh, we get heat. We're getting heat. We're getting heat already? We shouldn't be getting heat already. What is heating up? We should be pointing neater. We're gonna ditch the rocket. Yeah, now we're more stable. Oh my god, that exploded just like meters behind us. Alright, we are overheating. We are overheating big time. This wasn't intended. Oh god, stuff is exploding. What the hell is exploding? Our heat shield is not doing its job. What the hell is exploding? Something is turning red. Oh god, is it just a thruster block? Because we can live without the thruster block. Let's log the temperature and send that home. At least we'll have that. We are decelerating quickly. We're also descending quickly. I completely ditched any notion of determining where we're gonna land. This RCS block is having a hell of a time. It is dumping its heat into the wings. I'm considering whether all these things are being heated by this one RCS block or if they're being heated through the heat shield, which is ablating but holding. I'm not worried about the heat shield. I'm getting reluctantly more comfortable because we are down to a kilometer per second. We are still pretty much in the dark bits of Eve, and I think I can see the coastline there. Of course, there are no dark bits of Eve. I just mean I couldn't see where we were coming down, if that's going to be surface or ocean. Anyway, we'll have our work cut out for us. Oh my god, that's a harrowing re-entry, or just entry. We'll have our work cut out for us. We want to glide to the left as much as possible to reach solid ground to touch down on them. We still have our wheels, we still have our control surfaces, which is good. I mean, we can hardly steer. I mean, we have some glowing tail fins here. We can't really steer with the heat shield still attached, so we're gonna ditch that and try to fly free. Can we do so without using RCS? We can barely. What's the air pressure like here? It's still 14 times. It's already 14 times as what it would be on Kerbin at sea level. At least I'm supposing that's gonna be 1. Oh god, something must have changed in the version updates because I tested this thing before. It is actually performing as I was expecting it to. See, we're doing horizontal distances. That's great. That's great. We are actually flying. We are still really hot as well, but that doesn't really matter so much. Alright, we did the thermometer scans, we did the pressure scans. We are carrying a goo canister, but I'd rather save that for the ground. Look at that, we're flying into the sunset at Eve. We are actually flying at Eve. And I can see... Are we still heating up somehow? Let's see, we're gonna go into a little bit more of a dive. I want to see whether we are over land or not. I think we are over land. We're over lots of land. Or not. Yeah, that's not really conclusive, is it? Because there's this shimmer here that might suggest there's watery stuff. We can pull about 5 Gs going down and using our control surfaces. Despite how it looks, this thing is really well controllable. I'm regretting not putting in SAS module because now I have to keep pressing the button. I can see surface features, so I'm just wondering if that's a shoreline feature or an actual feature. That's the problem, pretty much. And I think, at least on Kerbin testing, this thing was able to land on its wheels. The wheels wouldn't always survive, but the craft would. So I wonder how it will do here in the thicker air. The solar panels are doing a good job of remaining charged, especially if I turn them towards the sun like so. I am a bit worried that I'm too close to sunset, that I won't be able to see the ground properly. Although this planet has an atmosphere, so it probably won't be pitch black near the surface. Speaking of near the surface, let's see if we are actually... Yeah, we are already now near the surface for science purposes. Ooh, this is even biome specific. I hadn't ever been to Eve biomes before. We're over highlands. That actually suggests that we are not over an ocean. That's nice. Let's try and cover horizontal distance so we can... Oh look, there's colors in the sky, so we can grab a few different biomes. That would be nice. Alternatively, you know, when we can't see the ground, we'll just pop the parachute. We are carrying a drogue chute here for redundancy, and hope that that will float us safely to the ground. Because if we hit the ground like this, things probably won't be very nice. But if we glide down wheels first, we might break the wheels, but that will probably be the extent of the damage. Let's see, are we over a different biome yet? Rule, one of my most faithful viewers, has pointed me in the direction of a mod that will tell you when there's fresh science to be done. I think that will really help me. I haven't gotten around to actually getting it yet, but I think it will be a handy tool to install, to add to the repertoire here. Oh, we're getting so much science. All we have to do now is actually land on Eve. I'm very pleased with this little craft. It's an incredibly lightweight wing with no propulsion, just gliding capability, a few sensors, a little bit of RCS, and a big honking heat shield. And, well, we're just pootering around the atmosphere of Eve now, getting readouts from our instruments. Yeah, the sun is definitely setting. This may present a problem as we now have no way to recharge. We're not really using electricity apart from... No, we don't even have reaction wheels. We're not really using electricity apart from the tiny amount to keep the probe core alive. And of course we need chunks of electricity to power the transmission dish. But, well, we can opt to not do that and wait for daylight until we do that again. I'm having problems finding the ground. I don't know where to look for it. And also, I think that the Eve atmosphere is quite hot because my parts are not cooling down, even though they are now in contact with lots and lots of air. Let's see, lock the temperature. We're still over the highlands. That bodes well for the possibility of not landing on water. That's it. We're actually quite close to the ground now, 5 kilometers up, and that's sea level. Let's see if we can get the display. 200 bars of pressure already, that's quite a lot. Oh yeah, look, we're only flying at 50 meters per second, that's really not a lot. We can go very slowly here. Yeah, there's no special barometric readings for biomes. But are we maybe on a different biome? No, I have a feeling this highland biome is really big. And we're getting close to the ground. Because I can't see said ground, I'm gonna opt for the parachute option, which I will deploy. Because if I manage to reduce my speed to like 0, I will move unpredictably. The ground is right close here. Yeah, parachutes deploy. Look at that, we're still going forwards pretty much. Can of course still use my control surfaces to try and be upright. Here now we're being basically pulled around by the parachute. So our vertical speed is almost 0 because of the wing effect. Now I don't want the parachute to be doing this. I want the parachute to, you know, pull up from the middle. I think I may need to get rid of the monopropellant. Oh, there, it's gone. That was quick. For the weight balance to be alright. But this parachute, I don't think it's doing me any favors. Whoa, these wheels are even starting to heat up. How hot is this planet? That would actually be really cool if it was just too hot. Let's talk about the display. 400! I don't know what the unit of that measurement is, but it sure feels like a lot. I hope this isn't gonna tilt forward. This didn't happen in the Kerbin atmosphere. Probably because that's a wholly different planet. We're going very slowly now. There is a big hazard. If the parachute is gonna drop this probe on its core, one of the purposes of the wheels was to specifically prevent that. This core is quite flimsy. If that explodes, we're not gonna get a landing credit. On the other hand, if we can manage to land in this attitude, then I think the wheels will hit first, just ever so slightly. And that would be good. We are now only 2 kilometers up. Let's see what's gonna happen if I release the control key. We will tilt forwards more, which is something I don't want. I don't want this forwards velocity, but the wings are giving it to me. I'm not sure I can get rid of it. I think the slope we're coming down over is angled in the correct fashion. Look at this scary night, by the way. There's a green halo over the horizon. The sky is pitch black. Where the hell are we? The ground is purple. I'm glad I'm not manning this thing. I hope no one's stowed away on it either. We have a few meters more to go. We're going really slowly. Our vertical speed is like 10 meters per second, and we're gliding forwards at about a 45-degree angle, courtesy of our wings and parachute. I think this is pretty much the best case scenario for a touchdown. We're going really slowly. Well, best would be if we were angled the other way, but I don't see that happening. We would have needed RCS for that, and I expended that. Right, 2 kilometers. I really don't dare do time warp here, but I will stop the video until we can see the ground, because that could be a few minutes more if it's far down. Yeah, and it turned out to have been a few minutes. I've been holding down this key for I think about 5 of them, but we're at 1100 meters and I can start to see surface detail. Oh god, that surface suddenly seems to be coming up really quickly, but there's nothing we can do about that. Fingers crossed. Oh god, there was explosions and everything. Yeah, and the wheels have not survived that, but the rest of the craft have. So that's a 2 for 3 success. We landed on Eve. We've flown around on Eve, and our wheel program, well, it saved the probe core, but they're probably not going to work in driving around. We'll test that in a sec, though. Let's send science home. That's what we're here for. Mystery goo from the surface of Eve. Eve's highlands, that is. We can repeat this mission on different locations for different results, apparently. Hurrah, hurrah. 48 science points here. And the temperature reading, let's look at the reading first. 443, that's so much. And let's of course radio that home well. Temperatures range between very cold and hot enough to boil water. I'm pretty sure they don't, they're just really hot. Alright, now let's try and do the driving bit. Enable the motor. Enable the motor. Oh, we can drive. We can drive a little bit, we can drive backwards. Can we drive? We can't drive forwards, but we can drive backwards. And if we enable steering, now we want to be slightly careful because we want this thing to remain operational. We want this thing to remain operational so that we may use it again and again to radio readings if the science contracts ask for that. And it appears we have gotten stuck. Or well, effectively stuck anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna declare this thing non-drivable, because we can theoretically move a few meters, but then we're not really at a different place on the planet. So I'm gonna shut that down. And we'll pretend that we'll put the craft into hibernation mode until we next need it. It's on Eve, on the surface, in that pitch black atmosphere, and it has successfully ticked a lot of boxes. Let's visit the Space Center to see what exactly we can do. And whilst gliding down slowly, staring at the screen, I saw something interesting. Our nuclear drive research will finish in 33 days. Our crew window to Eeloo is in 118 days. That's after that. That's well after that. And with these nuclear drives, we can build bigger ships because our drives are more efficient. So we might actually send something to Eeloo. Now we will be working on the assumption that the base lander, which is still in space, is going to land successfully at Eeloo. But we're going to look what pieces of that base these crew people are going to have to bring and do our first bit of interplanetary base building planning. Exciting, isn't it? I think so. That will be that will be it for this episode. Oh wait, no, the contracts. Yeah, we got lots of contracts. We have explored Eve. We have done the science bits. We have now almost 800 science points, almost enough cash to upgrade this building. Well, we need a little bit more because of course we will need to launch missions after that as well. But our R&D building, I mean, we are going to get some more of this, 300k, and I think we're going to be able to. Yeah, I had actually anticipated this. Had considered tacking on a thing to explore Gilly. This is just too good to pass up. We're gonna build a probe thing to do this at some point. This can be really light because Gilly is so light. If we accept this, yeah, I mean this will stick around, so we're gonna accept this at some point. But look, we get science data from the surface of Minmus. We can just accept that and go do it with our Minmus station. No, none of these things are interesting. So we're gonna flip to Minmus and cash in that contract, which is the reason why we have these stations. Let's see, what was that called? Landed at Minmus. Was it a lander? Not sure as hell wasn't a station. Tourismus probe landed at Minmus. Yeah, this we need. Fly that. So this episode had a successful landing at Eve. Next one we'll try for Ike. And here we are. Oh dear, come on. No, no, no. Is this thing tumbling? Don't tumble. This is incredibly scary because I can't see what's going on. It shouldn't tumble. Oh god. That's horrifying. Alright, alright. This is dark. No worries about that. Do we have a science instrument here? Should we time warp to a daylit time? I think that's smart. Holy moly. We may need to alter the mission parameters for these stations to only function when they are sunlit. Because that nightly RCS nightmare was horrible. Yeah, this happened. Stop that. Don't do little jumps. Although if I don't touch it, it will fix itself. Alright, well let's radio that home. We'll get the contract money for that. At least I hope I did. Yes. Wonderful. That's the reason these things exist. Free money from the contracts building. Alright, so what was I saying? We did the Eve this episode. Next episode we'll have Ike, and then we'll start designing and upgrading and worrying about all kinds of fun stuff, like building landers for Tylo, building crewed expedition ships for Eeloo, messing about with advanced technology, all kinds of good stuff. Now you may have been wondering what the hell's happened to the carbonite stuff. It's still sitting there in silo 01. There's not any more being mined. That went on the back burner. It turned out carborundum is more interesting, and we will see that mod in the coming episodes. I have a hunch. Anyway, thanks for watching this time. I'm Lorenzo. See you next time.